Alright, look. I'm not using this video to glorify real war. War is horrifying, whether watching it or especially fighting in one. It can destroy families, towns, cities, countries, economic systems, morale, and possibly even the world. It may have shaped important events in our history, but no one ever really wants to experience this horrifying act of violence. So, no, I'm not using this video to glorify something like real war. I'm just using it to glorify fictional war. War sequences are not something I find frequently, but when I find it and it's done well, it's so good. Full-on games or shows or movies based around war don't count. That's the whole point of those, is to be about war. So having war sequences are expected. I'm talking about the things that are not based in war, but then gain them for a critical plot arc or level or episode or whatever. Here are just a few examples. I'm sure there are more, but I'm using these as examples as to why they are good when done well. It may be weird starting out with this example as it is mostly geared towards kids, and war may not be the first thing they expect, but the Heartless War in Hall of Bastion and Kingdom Hearts 2 is most likely the reason why I like war sequences to begin with. It starts off with a slew of cutscenes seeing everyone fight a crap ton of Heartless, unless you play the Final Mix version, which throws in plot scenes out of nowhere because Nomura didn't know where else to put them. Admittedly, this section does start off bad since the first thing you do is fight. After the worst fake-out death in the series, we finally get to the cool part. Fighting alongside Final Fantasy characters is so awesome and it feels great. I wish it was longer and that we had more moments like this in the series, but it's awesome despite how brief it is. After plot happens, which does make things interesting, you get to fight, all by yourself, 1,000 fucking Heartless! This shit was awesome when I was a kid, and still awesome now! Sure, the fight itself isn't remarkable gameplay-wise. In fact, it's really easy. You can pretty much just mindlessly mash either the cross or triangle button and not really have to worry about dying. However, the adrenaline of being able to fight that many Heartless at once is so invigorating. While it doesn't last long and some of the cutscenes in the section last too long, it is so cool to have such gigantic and violent battle in the game about friendship and love and darkness and light and bleh. Now this next section is a bit controversial as it lasts way too long and made the show's popularity decline, but it's the war arc in Naruto Shippuden. Well, I was going to explain, but anyone who watched this video just left, so I'm going to talk anyway. Yes, it lasted way too long. Yes, the plot starts to take a dive around this part. Yes, it decided to introduce its final bad guy right at the end of the battle with almost no build-up. I mean, come on, seriously? But it also gave us some really badass moments for a ton of characters. Gave closure to some as well, and a design/transformation that I will love forever, Kurama mode. Suck at 6-path modes, you're awful and I hate you. I think it's the weakest in the show since it is poorly paced and filler bogs it down. But it does work in the games, since the cool moments are playable, and similar to the last example, it just feels great. You get to choose between 3 battlefields, which already gives you a bit of a cool war plan. You're not really devising a plan, but it gives you that feeling by letting you choose which battle to participate in. While Mifune's battle is fun and Kakashi's rematch with Zabuza is terrific, they don't really fit the war aspect. Okay, maybe the section with Guy, Sakura, and Lee fighting the 7 swordsmen can be that at least. It's a big and tough battle against multiple enemies, and if it's anything like real history, might be considered an important battle to turn the tide of war. The Darwi section though, now that's what I'm looking for. Orders are being thrown around, explosions are happening everywhere, it all feels frantic. Darwi is fighting through a bunch of enemies and there is a major battle to turn the tide. This fight in the manga/anime was fine, but kind of slow. Cutting out certain details to move things along, and having just a fight makes it feel so cool to play compared to reading/watching it. It is such a great rush, and everything you do feels important. It just feels frantic, and that rush makes it feel so good. Also, historically speaking, while I'm sure ninja were involved in wartime, they were probably behind the scenes more than at the forefront. Kind of counterintuitive. While game-wise there are more cool battles, they feel more like large battles, and we don't really get too many war-like moments like this. just blue balling Madara from being the final villain despite the series building him up to be. No, me and the rest of the Naruto fandom will never let this go! This next one actually caught me by surprise. In Neo, you seem to kill demons on the sidelines more, while the war occurs in the background. You clean up the demonic mess, while the real and historic battle takes place off-screen. Imagine my surprise when we actually take part in a real war that happened. Okay, you're not on the main battlefield and still kind of off to the sidelines, but it still works in a way. For one thing, while you hear about the war throughout the game, you can actually see it if you go to a certain part of the battlefield. Plus, the field is open enough and has enough enemies where it feels like you are fighting a one-man war. It can be tough when there are more enemies to fight all at once than what is normally allowed. I guess this works because it's a genuine surprise. In real-life history, William Adams did not take place in any battle in Japan, much less Sekigahara, so I expected for William the game to be on the sidelines as well. No, you actually take part in the most important battle in Japan's Civil War. Well, a part of it. Still, it's so cool! You can literally skip everything, stealth kill almost every enemy, or more or less fight a platoon by yourself. It just feels incredibly important, and even looking at the background is cool. Neo 2 has a similar sequence, but I feel like it doesn't work in that game. For one thing, while there is an argument to be made as to whether you are actually in the war or on the sidelines in the first game, in 2 you are 100% on the sidelines. No question. The main fight, sans the boss fight, is off to the side, and it definitely feels like you are sneaking around compared to the last time where that was an option, but not mandatory. I do like that you have allies to help you, but that makes this level so easy. Plus, in a sense, it is a copy of the first game. War sequence, followed by the sky shining red, you wander the level you just did, only to face a giant yokai at the end. Kind of lame if you ask me. Now, you'd think that in a game about war sequences that Warriors games would be here too, no? Well, yes and no. No, because it is technically a war game, not a normal game with a war sequence. Sure, it's not a first-person World War game or Modern War game or war sim, but most Omega Force Musou games are war games, or at least games based strongly around wars. Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors are based on historical wars from Asian countries like China and Japan. They are still war games, so having a war sequence is redundant. However, it can still fit in this example. There are Warriors games based on franchises that are not wholly war-based, but may have war moments in them. As I can only talk about the Warriors games I have played to prove my point, Berserk has wars in them, but the series isn't a war story. When it does have those war moments though, it is so fun, and the carnage is amazing to see, whether just by watching/reading, or by playing, with the Battle of Doldry being the point in the game that really felt like a proper war sequence in a Warriors game, at least to me. Age of Calamity technically is a war game, being set in the war against Calamity Ganon, but it doesn't really feel like it. But when it has those select moments, it feels like what I've been poorly talking about for the whole video. So, go play Age of Calamity. It's fun. This mini review brought to you by a certified Urbosa simp. However, don't just think that the only good thing about war sequences is the violence. The build-up is just as important. You can't just plop a war sequence in anything and expect it to work. The reasons why the war is happening and why the characters participate in the war should also be important. The Heartless War is cool on its own, but the frantic build-up to find the organization members and the increasing Heartless threat that was established very early is what makes it work. So many important plot moments make it feel more dire and important than just having a big battle moment. The addition of Final Fantasy characters is just icing on the cake. Naruto's war arc may have been long and full of problems, but a bunch of plot points converging and paying off made it somewhat worth it. I got legit excited when the idea of a ninja war was brought up in story, and since it wasn't immediate and the war took a bit to even get to, it made it feel even more hype. Having a playable version just makes it even better. You keep hearing about the war all throughout Neo, and given that historically William Adams didn't participate, it is a genuine surprise to take part in a major battle from that war, and feeling like a huge reason why Ieyasu won in the end. Warriors games that are based on other franchises like Berserk can manage to make it work, given the intrinsic nature of how Warriors games are. It's great to know the reason why there's a war section, not just having one solely for cool reasons. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I like these important parts of a narrative, controllable or not. It's similar to the tournament arc video in a way. You get the anticipation of hearing about it and try to figure out how it will play out. Side characters may get their own cool moments that help change the tide of battle in some cases, why characters are participating in a war and what it means to them, so on and so forth. See my Terminator video for more information on that. It's just so cool. Being this person who helps out in an instrumental part of the plot and manages to be fun too, it just feels good. If there are any other shows or movies or games that have these that I don't know about, let me know. I'm always up for thousands of lives lost and bloodshed for my entertainment. That got dark fast.
Move it!
You got what's in the way!
Right!
After the worst fake-out death in the series, we finally get to the cool part. Fighting alongside you can literally skip everything, stealth kill almost every enemy, or more or less fight a platoon of... I can't fucking do this section for some reason, god damn it. As I can only talk about the Warriors games I have played to prove my point. Oh my god. As I can only talk about the Warriors games I have played to prove my... I can't do this line, god damn it. That I have played. As I can only talk about the war games I have... oh my god, what is with this line?